I'm going to set it up this way is, from an exchange point of view, 2017 was a really crazy year for crypto. It's pretty much where mass adoption was kind of taking. It was in every article, every news, every search. It was the wild, wild west. So many exchanges popped up all over, mainly starting out of Asia and drifted over to Europe. There's a few in the US. And it was crazy. It was unregulation was rife. There was fraud everywhere, just because everybody was about just let's grab market share, let's grab money as much as we could,
and run,
and run in some cases. This is why some exchanges are actually bouncing from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, because they find out once there's real regulation, they actually can't stay there, right? Because of what they've done in the past. So, 2018 came. The bubble sort of burst because all of a sudden regulators got wise to this. They saw there was too much fraud. China clamped down, the SEC clamped down, other regulation jurisdictions started saying, look, I want to be part of this revolution. And look, make no mistake, there is something in blockchain. There's definitely something in the security side. But this 2018 is really about this new wave that's coming up from an exchange point of view, especially about regulation. Now for us in DX, we think our timing was perfect. Mainly for a couple of reasons. One, because we're new, we actually partnered with NASDAQ in the United States. We're utilizing their matching engine technology. So right away, in terms of NASDAQ being regulated, with us being regulated, we can't do things called fake volume. You've heard of fake news. Well, in our industry, we have fake volumes, right? So because of that, definitely our volumes must be clean because we're both regulated. Number two, in terms of the industry as a whole, we're regulated under EU regulations, so we have a license for crypto, which is out of Estonia. I had so many conversations and meetings with them, and they've made it very, very clear to me, as long as not one US customer is touched, they're not interested in you, right? Now, the advantage that we have with DX is all those other exchanges that launched in 2017, guess what? They all touched US customers. So we actually found that there was a bit of an advantage in a lot of the tokens that were out there right now, whether it's the big guys like Tron or EOS or stuff. I thought, well, how am I going to get these guys to trade on the exchange? I know I could set them up, myself, but really, will they want to come on? How do I get their support? They were actually running to me because of exactly that issue, is that they knew that we weren't taking U.S. customers, and that they knew that their token would survive should something happen with the SEC later down the road. So we sort of looked at that, and I said, you know what, I want to get things right, and we're going to follow security tokenization as well. So I think somebody asked a question before, is in the back here, about the security tokens and utility. I think they're going to coexist, and the way DX is being set up is we definitely will have this utility token exchange, and in a separate entity we're going to have the security token exchange. And just to be clear also, currently we are centralized exchange, we're not a decentralized. Mainly for the reason I believe is I don't believe the technology for decentralization is actually quite there yet. It's getting better. I think we're still a good year away. The user experience, just the security and the technology around it isn't there, so we're staying on a centralized basis. But in terms of the security side of it, because we're actually in the EU, where the rules and regulations are more like, for lack of a better word, guidelines, rather than actual black and white, yes, no, you can't do this, or how we test and things like this, it gives us a lot more flexibility in terms of being able to launch the exchange and working with the regulatory bodies. They're a bit more open in this case. They're also, they haven't really come out too vocal yet in this space, and I've been involved in some of the EU discussions as well. And I think that they're looking to embrace this in some way. But the best thing about the EU is they kind of tell you in a broad sense what they want, and then it's up to you to decide how are you going to implement that. And then when they come in and audit you, they just want a good answer as to why you did it this way. And if you give them a good answer, three things are going to happen. They're going to accept it, they're going to say, that's not bad, but modify it here, or they're not going to accept it. And depending on, the point is just not to go outright and violate anything. If you outright violate it, they're going to shut you down, they're going to fine you, so forth. So, I think there's an advantage in Europe right now to be able to offer the first exchange in security tokens because of the easier, I don't want to say easier regulations, because it's not easy. MiFID II and GDPR is not easy, but they're a bit more, I guess, forgiving and they're more willing to help companies innovate. So, you know, we're launching actually our utility exchange in the next few weeks. The security side, we're hoping to be able to launch in August or no later than September, but I think August is looking the right time frame. And look, we really want to support both spaces because I think there's room for both. Definitely security tokens, though, as Jeff said, there's just, right now we're in the education phase. And that's got to, first we got to clear that hurdle before we can actually really move forward.
One follow-up question. How are you going to deal with the fact that security tokens are currently available or can be traded by accredited investors only? So how would the accreditation process would work on your exchange?
Yeah, that's a great point. So the security token exchange, we call it DXS, okay, is only going to be for accredited investors. And there's a couple different platforms out there. There's like Polymath and Securitize and all this. We met with them over the last few weeks, and we can actually give them our KYC and onboarding procedures for the accredited investors based on the jurisdiction they're come. And they have, these are some platforms where accredited investors can come in and sign up and they can do all the KYC for you. So then they would be able to offer the security, whatever is in their system, onto the exchange. In addition to that, what the most important thing is that an accredited investor cannot trade with a retail customer. This is why the exchange will only be for accredited investors.